Then now we are there. This is Sunday Leftovers with Catherine Johnston. How are you, Catherine?
Hi. Hi. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I mean, much better than the weekend. I had a cold. I still have a cold, but it's better. And the days are nicer. I mean, I
Yeah. Is it?
rainy days. I love rainy days.
Uh-huh. Me
Those are
too.
the best days. But I really appreciate when when we have some sun and you can see that spring is coming because
Yeah.
the trees are blossom, and
Right.
so it's nice. It's a nice season for us. And I know you're moving to winter time, but
All right.
fall
So you're
actually.
on the opposite side of the equator, so you're
uh,
moving into. We're having fake fall in Texas.
fall. That's right.
Fake fall. We'll start. It felt so nice for a few days, and it's still great. It's not 175 degrees outside, but it felt like fall for a few days, and then now it's getting warmer again. And like to the point where I'm going to go swimming on Saturday.
I think,
with
I
some
think at some
friends.
point, I think at some point humanity must reevaluate this season thing, because are changing a lot because of the climate change.
It's true.
All around the world is all upside down. It's very crazy.
That is true. And that's actually kind of maybe that's not exactly related to what we talked about on Sunday, but maybe a little bit because I feel like if you can't be sure that the seasons are going to go a certain way, it kind of introduces some uncertainty into your life of like,
That's right.
can you be certain that once it gets cold, it's going to stay cold, that you're going to need, like, I feel like in Texas, we can never put our summer clothes away.
Well, you in Texas, you don't know how to dress in the morning.
No, that's right. Like my car has every possible season in the back seat. A raincoat, a coat, a tank top, a swimsuit.
Better you wear at least a backpack to put all your stuff there, and then you can, I mean, respond according to the weather.
Right. Because it's all uncertain. Like it could change. It feels like it could change in an instant.
Okay. By the way, I have a confession to do because of
Uh-huh.
my health condition, and maybe because just my laziness. I don't know. I didn't have the chance to watch the sermon. So this conversation has two purposes. The first one,
Okay.
please inform me about the sermon,
Okay.
and then we can move to the leftovers.
That makes
I
sense.
don't have any reference to say, okay, maybe this is the leftovers. I want the main dish and the
Okay.
leftovers.
I'll give you the main dish and the leftovers. I'll
Okay.
leave the appetizer out. I don't know that I ever do an appetizer, but we're a family style sermon. It's just the main dish. So I had a passage from Mark in the lectionary reading where Jesus, it's a passage of him healing two different people put up right next to each other, and it kind of is comparing the two stories. So in the first story, he heals a Gentile woman's daughter who's possessed by a demon. It's an exorcism. And in the second story, he heals a man who is deaf and mute. And the story starts off with him going, it says like he wanted to get away. Essentially, he went up to the region of Tyre to escape. It doesn't say this, but my reading is it's to escape the crowds and get some time alone. And of course, that doesn't happen. And people immediately find him and start asking him for healing. And I thought it was a beautiful passage. We're in the middle of a series on, actually, we're at the end of a series on sustenance, where we're talking about what the life of Jesus can teach us about finding spiritual nourishment.
Was the last Sunday the wrap up of the series?
Yeah, it was the
Okay.
wrap up of the series. So we had about 4 passages in the lectionary that all had something to do with food in some way. And this one was very loosely tied to food, but there were I think there were still a lot of principles tied to nourishment and what sustenance can mean for us.
Mm.
And I still remember, I think early on in the series, one of the first things I like to do when I'm thinking about a word is look up its etymology. And for the English word, at least, the word sustenance comes from a Latin root that means to carry, to sustain. And that's been the guiding image for me the couple of times I've preached on this, is just in what ways does this teaching help carry us through something difficult or something unsure or something trying, something that's demanding a lot of us? What carries us through that? And so in this passage, I think we saw the people coming to Jesus were facing a difficult circumstance. But the super interesting thing to me was I think Jesus himself was facing a difficult circumstance. I think he was exhausted and trying to get some time away. And when that first person came to him, the mom, he initially responds to her with a lot of he's pretty frustrated and says something pretty harsh to her. It's the passage where he says, like, basically, why would I feed the dogs before I feed my own children, is how a lot of people interpret that passage. In other words, why would I help a Gentile or a Jew? And the woman changes his mind by saying, even the dogs eat the crumbs underneath the table. And I think he kind of softens, and, you know, he was human, tired, exhausted, probably bristled at the fact that another person was asking him for something. He came here to get away from all the people asking for healing. And it's beautiful to see that transformation even in Jesus, and how it was a Gentile woman using her voice and her belief in her own truth that changed his perspective. So that was one kernel.
You know, a couple of years ago, we were reading the Gospel of Mark. I don't know if you took the story from Mark or from another of the Gospels.
From Mark, it's also in Matthew. Well, I guess, yeah.
That was my question, because we were reading from Mark, and when it was a reading group, and when we faced that passage, I said to the people, I asked them, could you conceive that Jesus is learning from someone else? Like, we the image of Jesus in our minds usually is equivalent to our image of God in our mind. So if you can't conceive God is learning from someone else, so neither Jesus. But Jesus was human.
He was. And
humans learn.
That's right. And there's actually, I think, and this may be controversial, I don't know, but there's precedence in the Hebrew Bible for God changing his mind.
Yeah.
After he interacts with humanity, people changing his mind. And that's not an idea I grew up having room for in my theology, but it's one that I've kind of expanded my view to include, especially after spending time learning from Rabbi Neal, that's the way that they hold those passages in the Hebrew Bible where God, I can't remember them right now. You might be able to remember them. I think Abraham changes his mind to lessen the number of people that he's going to, maybe, I can't remember. I should look them up. There's a few different ones where it's like an argument between God and
when Yahweh was about to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, he was making negotiation with Abraham, 15, 50, 40, 20. Right. Okay. 10.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
It's like
it changed my view that it's not anti-divine to change and grow, and the interaction between the divine nature and humanity. God leaves room for our co-creation with God. I think right. Jesus left room for this woman's co-creation with him. That's beautiful, you know.
It is. It's very
Yeah.
nice. So that was one kernel of the sermon.
Mhm.
And
That
the
was
other
one.
one was the other miracle, right?
Yeah. So the other miracle was him healing the deaf and the mute man. And the thing that I love about that story, I mean, there's so many things, but it's the story where Jesus says, "Ephatha," which means be opened. And just the idea that it's an opening, a spiritual opening, a physical opening that leads to transformation for this person in that story. And I think it's an opening in Jesus in the first story that led to his perspective change, his transformation with the woman. He had an open enough mind to consider her perspective, and he was changed. And then he carried that sense of opening into his healing for the person who is deaf and mute. Yeah, so we kind of, I'm trying to remember. I actually spent a long time talking about the idea of uncertainty. And that's what I had the most probably left over
Mm.
towards, just because so many people came up afterwards and said, I feel like this is a really uncertain time in my life for these reasons, and found a lot of comfort in the idea that they can find something to carry them through those times of uncertainty. But one person, I thought this was interesting. One person came up and said, I love the idea of uncertainty because I grew up with a faith that told me I had to be certain of everything.
Mm.
And so
Okay, yeah,
now,
that kind of uncertainty. Okay.
yeah, it was interesting to see how different people responded to that one word.
Mm.
For some people, it brings them anxiety, and for other people, they're in a season of embracing the unknown and the mystery. Both can be true.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe it
yeah.
depends on what you're uncertain about.
And we need to learn how to navigate with this. Maybe, you know, for me, I'm quite comfortable with uncertainty about spirituality and faith and theology, all of that, because it's something that I work with that language, the language of uncertainty. But
Yeah.
sometimes the uncertainty that stress me out is about uh, family,
Mm-hmm.
future,
Mm-hmm.
like what about next year? Things like when other people depends on you for specific things. That's the kind of uncertainty that I need to learn how to deal in a maybe in a more healthy way and
Yeah.
try to, yeah. So that's
That was,
that's the uncertainty that maybe bothers me the most. So
I think you perfectly named that. That was the uncertainty. The second one was the uncertainty I was coming to it with, like worry about the future, the unknown, all the things that could go wrong, might go wrong, I can't control. And I think this other person was talking about, having an openness to faith and uncertainty when it
right.
comes to faith and theology and that being okay. I think they're two sides of the same coin, though. And it tied to me to the passage because I think in order to have openness, I think uncertainty can be a teacher that can lead us to greater openness. It can lead
Right.
us, can show us what our vulnerability is. It can lead us to a place of trust if we let it. It can lead us to a place of pause rather than, trying to grasp at control or trying to run away. Those are both two things that I do when I feel afraid about something uncertain. Um, but it can be a teacher to lead us to openness. And I think
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we provide the meaning to the things that we are facing every day, and
Yeah.
it's better to choose that. Okay, this can teach me something. This can lead me to a better place. Yeah, I'm definitely I'm trying to do that. Sometimes I think that okay, I got this. Other times it's like no, I don't.
No, I
And
know.
I need to keep trying and keep learning not just learning about other people or the situation, but learning about myself, because it's like a mirror of my own internal activity. It's like sometimes we project a lot of our because it's something happening inside. Sometimes
Mhm.
the situation is not so hard, it's not so uncertain, but we are projecting our insecurities and our fears and all of that. So
Mhm.
definitely it's an opportunity to know me better,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's great.
That's
I,
beautiful.
I like when these kind of conversations are the, we have the chance to talk about this in the church context. That's what,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my favorite point in the service was we did an open mic where people shared what they were uncertain
Yeah,
about or how they handle uncertainty. And gosh, people are wise. They had so many wise and beautiful things to say, um, which is just a gift to be reminded that we're co creating in a church, we're all co creating meaning and learning and teaching together, too, you know?
that's right. So
Yeah.
we that was the end of the sustenance series.
It was.
Are we going to a new series? Are we going
Yes.
to okay?
Yeah.
What?
So next week, Jason will be back and he'll be kicking off a series on freedom. I'm not sure what he's going to call it yet, but the idea will be finding freedom through giving, finding freedom through releasing, through generosity, through letting go, in lots of different domains. So, with your money, yes, with your time, with your sense of presence, um, with those around you, and
Yeah, yeah. So sometimes when people hear that, oh, they will start to talk about generosity. Immediately, people just think about money, but
yeah,
generosity is a so much wider concept, and that's great. It's great. We
yeah,
need definitely we need to learn how to be more generous in the
yeah,
wider spectrum of the word. Yes,
yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
yeah,
Catherine, thank you so much for because people, you don't know that I was changing the schedule during the entire morning, and Catherine was so nice to flow with the and thank you very much
of course.
to be here seated and talking about this. Thank you very much.
Love talking with you. It's such a gift, even though we're on other sides of the world.
That's right.
It's a
That's
gift
right.
to be able to
Totally
connect.
different hemispheres.
I know.
Here we are.
Different
Okay.
season.
This was Sound the Leftovers. See you